Hello, third grade, and welcome to Unit 5, Week 1. Let's start with our vocabulary words. Now, our first word is the word admit. When you admit something, you're accepting it and you're saying that, yes, that thing is true. So when you admit to doing something, you say, yes, I did do that thing. And our example sentence here says, Jack had to admit his mother was right. Number 2 is the word creation. Creation is something that is made. So if you are playing with Play-Doh, or you're at the beach and you're playing with sand and you make a sandcastle, that is your little creation, your sandcastle. Your next word is the word considered. Considered means you've thought very carefully about something. So if you considered something, you gave it a lot of thought. You didn't say it right away, or you didn't decide on something right away. You thought about it before you came up with any kind of response. Next, we have the word magnificent. So something that is magnificent is very beautiful, very unique, very grand. So our example sentence here says the ice sculpture is magnificent. Next, we have the word humble. Humble means the word humble in this context means something that's not very big or expensive, something that's kind of smallish, like not a very grand or magnificent gift. A humble gift is something that's kind of small and thoughtful. Next, we have the word reluctantly. Now, when something is done reluctantly, that means it's done unwillingly. Like you don't really want to do it. You're not sure about it. You're hesitating. It comes from the word reluctant. So when you're reluctant to do something, that means you're not sure if you want to do that thing. You're hesitating. You're stopping and you're thinking. You're not sure. So when something is done reluctantly, it's done in that same way. Next, we have the word payment. Now, a payment is something that you give back to someone who either gives you something or they do a service for you. So payment could be money, for example, or you could repay someone by doing something for them. So maybe if they came and helped you out, maybe you went and mowed the lawn at their house. So payment is something that you give for a service that someone does for you. And last, we have the word barter. Now, barter means to exchange goods or services for other things, but you don't use money. So you can barter by saying, well, if you come help me do my homework for the next week, I'll come and help you with your chores. So you're not using money as an exchange, you're using something else. Or you can say, well, if I know you really like this game that I have, and I really like that toy that you have, maybe we can trade. So you're bartering, you're making an agreement, you're offering payment using something other than money to pay for the thing. All right, let's hop into our spelling words. Now, our spelling words for this week are focusing on compound words. Now, what does that mean? Compound words are when you have two whole words that you put together to make a new word. Now, these are not like contractions where you're putting them together and you're shortening them. No, you have the two whole words come together and they make a new word. So we're going to go through our words and I'll show you how these can be separated into individual words. So we have the word airplane. Air is one word and plane is one word. We put them together, we have airplane. We also have daytime, birthday, daylight, hairdo, somebody, birdhouse, barefoot, headlight, sometime, someone, newspaper, sidewalks, basketball, stagecoach, placed, office, giant, handwriting, and windshield. So you see nearly all of these words, except for your review words, numbers, what are they? Numbers 16, 17, 18. The rest of them are all compound words. That means they're made up of two words that are put together to make a new word that has a new meaning. So sidewalk, for example, side is a word and walk is a word. You put them together, a sidewalk is a new word with a new meaning. It's the place on the side of the road where you walk. And the same is true for your other words. Now let's get into our notes for this week. So the first thing we're going to talk about is root words, or these are also called base words. So these are the simplest form, the smallest form of a word that you have when you don't add anything extra onto it. So we're going to go over some root words and some related words to show you how that works. So if your root word is the word happy, happy means feeling a lot of joy, excitement. So related words are happily or happiness. You can find the word happy inside of it. So remember, your root word is your smallest, simplest form of that word. When you take off all of the extra stuff, all the prefixes and suffixes, all the inflectional endings. Remember, inflectional endings are like ED or ING or S or ES. What you get, what's left over, is your simplest form of your word. So next we have the word special, something that is unique or something that is better. You can have the word specialty or especially. Those are all related words. The word joy means happiness or excitement. You get the words enjoyment or enjoyable or joyful. Those are all related words. The word break means to separate into something or to interrupt something. So breakfast, you're breaking your fast. So when you're fasting, you're not eating, right? When you're asleep, you're basically fasting. So breakfast is when you're breaking that fast, you're interrupting that time where you weren't eating, and now you're going to have a meal. Something that is breakable can be broken. Next, you have the word scene, like SCENE. And that's where something happens, either in real life or in a movie. So you can watch a movie scene that's taking place outside, or you can see a scene that's going on in the person's house. That's where we get the word scenery. So those are some examples of some of your root words. Next, we're going to talk about consonant LE syllables. So those are syllables that at the very end of the word end with a consonant plus the LE that makes the OL sound. Now remember, every syllable has a vowel sound in it. So some words have a final syllable that we call the consonant LE syllable because it says OL. And there's different ways to spell it in order to make that sound. You can spell it LE, OL, EL, IL, and AL. And I'll give you some examples. So all of these, pay attention to that final syllable. What do you see at the end? You're going to see the consonant plus that OL sound combination. So crumble, tangle. So crumb is the first syllable, and bull, BLE, there's our consonant and our OL sound. Or tangle, we can make it with OL, like symbol or patrol. We can make it with EL, like tunnel or funnel. We can do it with IL, like in the words fossil or tonsil, or with AL, like sandal or mammal. So you're hearing that same OL sound at the end of all of these. There's a consonant plus the letter combination that makes that OL sound. And remember, we said that letter combination is either LE, OL, EL, IL, or AL. Now, next we're going to talk about nouns and pronouns. So let's do a quick review. A noun is a person, place, or thing. We have common nouns and we have proper nouns. So a common noun is any person, place, or thing. These are not capitalized. It's not specific. Cat, dog, house, tree, lamp, boy, girl. All of these are just common nouns. It could be any cat or any friend or any house or any boy or any building. Now, on the other hand, a proper noun is the name or the title of a specific person, place, or thing. I'll put organization there. Thing. Proper nouns begin with a capital letter every time because they name something. So if a proper noun has more than one word in it, all of the important words in the name of that thing or the title of that thing have a capital letter. Now, things that we capitalize all the time are days of the week, the names of the months, holidays, important words in the title of things that are published like books or movies. When we're talking about the name of a language like English or Spanish or Arabic or Somali or Pashto or anything, we're talking about a specific language or dialect, we capitalize that because it's the name of that thing. If we're talking about a particular race or nationality, if I say someone is Mexican, someone is Jordanian, someone is Egyptian, those are capitalized because they name something specific. We're talking about historical events like the Civil War, that's capitalized. The names of products. So if you're buying a thing that has a specific name, that the name of that thing is going to be capitalized. Names of geographical places. So names of places on the earth like Lake Tahoe or Niagara Falls or the Grand Canyon. Those are capitalized as well. And I have examples listed here for you. Now, a pronoun is a word that takes the place of one or more nouns. And there are a lot of different kinds of pronouns, but this week we're only going to focus on what we call personal pronouns. Now, a pronoun has to match the noun that it's replacing, right? It has to have the same number that it's referring to and the same gender. So what does that mean? So if your noun is talking about one boy or man, you use him, right? He or him is talking about one guy. If your noun is talking about one girl or woman, you use she or you use her to refer to that one girl or woman. If your noun is talking about a group of people, so this is plural. So the first two, he, him, or his, or she, and her, those are singular. Those are talking about one thing. Now, if we're talking about a plural, which is a group of people, you say they or them. Now, if you're talking about you and someone else, or you and a group where you're including yourself, now it's a plural, you say we or us, right? Like we went to the park or they came to the park with us. You're talking about a group that you are a part of. Now, a personal pronoun refers to a person or a thing, right? And some personal pronouns that we're going to focus on are I, you, he or she, it, they, we, us, them, him, or her. So these are some of the ones that we mentioned in our examples above. And I'm going to make these bold for you and italicize them so that they're easy to see. Not that one, because that's not part of them. Okay, so a personal pronoun takes the place of the name of that noun. And they're broken into subject pronouns and object pronouns because of where they're found in the sentence. So subject pronouns are pronouns that you find in the beginning of the sentence. They are the subject. They're what the sentence is talking about. I, you, he, she, it, we, they. Those are subject pronouns. Object pronouns come at the end of the sentence. They're found in the predicate. Those are going to be me, you, him, her, it, us, and them. Now, how do you tell those apart? It's not that hard. It's actually quite easy. Would you start a sentence by saying me? We don't say me like cookies, like the Cookie Monster. Cookie Monster doesn't talk in proper grammatical sentences. We say, I like cookies. We don't say him go to the park. We say he goes to the park. We don't say her is in the kitchen. We say she is in the kitchen. So I listed some examples for you here, and I showed you which ones are singular and which ones are plural. Now you'll see that you is found in both places because you can talk about you like you're referring to a group. So I could say, you know, if I'm talking to my entire third grade class, I can say, you all can line up. Now that's me talking to the whole group. I'm not talking to just one, right? So remember, subject pronouns come in the beginning of the sentence. Object pronouns come at the end of the sentence just to help you identify which one you're supposed to use where. You're not going to see these specifically in your worksheet referred to as subject and object pronouns, but they are things that are going to come up later. And since you're learning them, I do want you to know the names of these things. So when you come across them again, you look at it and you say, hey, I remember exactly what that is. I already learned it. So I is a subject pronoun, singular. It's talking about one person. I'm talking about myself. I say, I am going to the park. Now, if I want to use the object pronoun version of that, I can say, come to the park with me. You can carry the toys or take the toys with you, depending on where it is in the sentence. It can be a subject or object pronoun. For he or him, we start a sentence with he. So he is making cookies. I can end the sentence. I'm going to use him. The cookies are with him. She wrote a book. The book is with her. It is going to rain today. The grass is muddy. Don't step on it. So it can be either a subject or object pronoun, depending on where it is in the sentence. We, remember, it's talking about a group that I'm a part of. So we will play outside. If I want to use the other side, the us, I can say, come play with us. I don't say us will play outside, right? I say we will play outside, or I say come play with us. You can all go together, or students, the bus is waiting for you. So I'm talking about the group. They, like they will ride their bikes, or them, do you want to ride with them? So these are all pronouns, right? They're taking the place of the name of something. They're taking the place of a noun. So I know that was a lot of information. I am going to ask you to please make sure you come back and you revisit, reread this section, or play the video again. Pay attention to your pronouns. Remember, a pronoun takes the place of a noun. So instead of saying the cat is outside, you can say it is outside. Instead of saying Almar is climbing the tree, I can say he is climbing the tree. Instead of saying she is, or Nuran is building a sandcastle, I can say she is building a sandcastle. So all of these are different ways where you're replacing the name, or you're placing the noun in your sentence with a shorter word that is called a pronoun. So that takes us to the end of our notes for this week. Let's go ahead and get started on our stories. Now, your first story is a fun one. I think you guys are going to like it quite a bit. It's called Clever Jack Takes the Cake. And this is a fairy tale.
Genre: fairy tale. Clever Jack Takes the Cake by Candace Fleming. Illustrated by G. Brian Carus. Essential question: how do we get what we need? Read how a poor boy gets what he needs to make a royal gift. One summer morning long ago, a poor boy named Jack found an invitation slipped beneath his cottage door. It read, "His Majesty the King cordially invites all the children of the realm to the princess's 10th birthday party tomorrow afternoon in the castle courtyard." "A party!" exclaimed Jack. "For the princess?" His mother sighed. "What a shame you can't go." "Why not?" asked Jack. "Because we've nothing fine enough to give her," his mother replied, "and no money to buy a gift." Jack had to admit his mother was right. His pockets were empty, except for the matchsticks he always carried. As for their few belongings, a spinning wheel, a threadbare quilt, a pitted axe, what princess wanted those? The boy thought a moment. "Then I will make her something," he declared. "I will make her a cake." "From what?" asked his mother. "From the dust in the cupboard? From the dirt on the floor?" "I have a better idea," said Jack. And that same morning, he traded his axe for 2 bags of sugar, and his quilt for a sack of flour. He gave the hen an extra handful of seed in exchange for 2 fresh eggs, and he kissed the cow on the nose for a pail of her sweetest milk. He gathered walnuts. He dipped candles. And in the strawberry patch, he searched and searched and searched until he found the reddest, juiciest, most succulent strawberry in the land. "Delicious," said Jack, as he plucked it from its stem. Then he set to work, churning, chopping, blending, baking. That same night, Jack stood back to admire his creation. 2 layers of golden sweet cake covered in buttery frosting and ringed with 10 tiny candles. Across the cake's top, walnuts spelled out, "Happy Birthday, Princess." And in the very center, in the place of honor, sat the succulent strawberry. "What a fine, fine gift," said Jack's mother. Jack grinned. Early the next morning, with combed hair and clean shirt, Jack set off for the castle, holding the cake proudly before him. Before long, he came to a bloom-speckled meadow. "Perhaps I should pick a bouquet for the princess," thought Jack, just as 24 blackbirds rose into the air. Like a sudden summer storm cloud, they swirled around the cake, pecking, nipping, flapping, picking. "Get back!" hollered Jack. "I'm taking this cake to the princess." "Ah, caw, 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 caw," cackled the birds. And as quickly as they had come, they were gone, taking with them the walnuts that spelled "Happy Birthday, Princess." Jack looked at his gift. "At least I still have 2 layers of cake, 10 candles, and the succulent strawberry," he said. Holding the cake proudly before him, Jack continued on to the castle. Before long, he came to a bridge. "Toll!" a voice demanded. Out stepped a wild-haired troll. "No one crosses my bridge without paying." "But I haven't any money," said Jack. The troll licked his lips. "But you do have a cake." "I'm taking this to the princess," said Jack. "And just how will you get it there?" growled the troll. "You and your cake are on this side of the river. The princess is on that side, and my bridge is the only way across." Jack considered the problem. "I will make you a deal. If you let me cross, I will give you half this cake." "Agreed," grunted the troll. So Jack slid out 1 layer, and as the troll slobbered and gobbled, crossed the bridge. On the other side, he looked down at his gift. "At least I still have a layer of cake, 10 candles, and the succulent strawberry," he said. Holding the cake proudly before him, Jack continued on to the castle. Before long, he came to the forest. No birds chirped here, no squirrels chittered. As if under a spell, the entire wood lay silent, sleeping. Only the wind seemed to whisper, "Beware, beware." Pulling the cake closer, Jack pressed on. The road grew narrower, the trees grew thicker, the light grew dimmer. Soon it was so dark that Jack couldn't see the cake in front of his face. "Turn back," the wind whispered. "Turn back." "I can't," cried Jack. "I'm taking this cake to the princess." And he reached into his pocket for a matchstick, struck it on his shoe, and lit one of the 10 candles. The tiny flame cast a magical circle of light. In its warm glow, Jack carefully made his way forward, but the little candle quickly burned down and, poof, snuffed out. So Jack lit a second candle. But he had not gone much farther before, poof, it too snuffed out. So Jack lit a third, then a fourth, then a fifth, until the 10th and final candle flickered, fluttered, sputtered to its end. And as it did, the road widened, the trees thinned, and the bright sunlight shone once more. Jack looked down at his gift. "At least I still have a layer of cake and the succulent strawberry," he said. Holding the cake proudly before him, Jack continued on to the castle. Before long, he came to a clearing. "Good morning, young sir," called out an old gypsy woman. "Have you come to see Samson dance?" At the sound of his name, the bear beside her rose up on its hind legs. "I don't have time," replied Jack. "I'm taking this cake to the princess." "Then we shall make it a quick jig," said the gypsy, snatching up her concertina. "Oompa, oompa," wheezed the instrument. "Shuffle, shuffle, kick," danced the bear. Tap, 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 went Jack's foot, as he set down the cake to dance with his new friends. Gulp! "Hey!" cried Jack. "That bear ate the princess's cake." "Patooey!" But not the strawberry, said the gypsy. Samson hates fruit. Jack looked down at his gift, and for several seconds he was unable to speak. Finally, he said, "At least I still have this, the reddest, juiciest, most succulent strawberry in the land." And holding the strawberry proudly before him, Jack continued on to the castle. Across the drawbridge, through the fortress walls, straight into the courtyard. What a sight! There, smack in the center of all the merry festivities, sat the princess on her velvet throne, a long line of guests stretched before her. One by one, they presented her with their gifts, each more fabulous than the last. But even the most magnificent treasures did not seem to interest Her Highness. "More rubies," she said, with a bored yawn. "How tiresome. Another tiara? How dull." Joining the line, Jack glanced down at his humble gift. "And just what have you brought the princess?" a guard asked from behind him. "A strawberry," said Jack. "The reddest, juiciest, most succulent one in the land." He held it out for the guard to see. "That is a fine piece of fruit," agreed the guard, "but I cannot allow you to give it to the princess." "Why not?" asked Jack. "Because she is allergic to strawberries," said the guard. "One taste and she swells up like a balloon." "No!" gasped Jack. "Yes," said the guard. "I'm sorry, but you'll have to give it to me." Reluctantly, Jack handed over the strawberry. Mmm. Now Jack found himself at the front of the line. The princess turned her gaze to him. "And what have you brought me?" she asked. Jack gulped. He blushed. He shuffled his feet. "Well?" Jack took a deep breath and knelt down before her. "Your Highness," he began, "let me explain what happened." And he told the princess about trading for the ingredients to bake a golden sweet cake just for her. He told her about the swirling storm of blackbirds, the wild-haired troll, and the dark, dark wood. He told her about the old gypsy woman and her concertina, and the bear who loved to dance but hated fruit. "And in the end," said Jack, "I still had the succulent strawberry. But," the boy sighed, "you're allergic to strawberries." He waited for her to yawn. "So the guard ate it," he concluded. The princess laughed and clapped her hands in delight. "A story!" she exclaimed. "And an adventure story at that! What a fine gift!" Then the princess rose from her throne and proclaimed, "Time for birthday cake, and my new friend Jack shall have the honor of cutting it."
All right, that takes us to the end of our first story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let's go ahead and get started with our second one. This is an expository text, so remember this is going to give us information and facts.
Genre: expository text. Compare texts. Read to find out how people barter and trade goods for the things they need. When corn was cash. Think of the last time you traded snacks, baseball cards, or video games with a friend. You traded something you had for something you wanted. No money was exchanged. This is called bartering. Why do people barter? It is a good way to get what they need without money. People have bartered for thousands of years. Farmers used to trade their crops for the things that they needed. The barter system. Long ago, there was no money. As a result, people bartered to get food, clothing, and shelter. A family that raised chickens traded eggs for milk with neighbors who had a cow. Sometimes there were problems with bartering. What if a farmer wanted to trade apples for shoes when the shoemaker didn't want apples? Then there was no trade. People had to decide the value of the different things they traded. They also had to agree on how many apples to trade for shoes. In spite of problems, people all over the world bartered. Bartering was also an important part of America's history. Native Americans. In the past, Native Americans often used the barter system. People from different families and villages got together to exchange items. They traded crops such as corn, beans, and tobacco. They exchanged dried fish and meat. They traded stones for making arrowheads and animal hides for making clothes. Native Americans in the Northeast valued beads made from quahog clamshells. The beads were called wampum. Wampum means strings of white shell beads in the Algonquin language. Native Americans used wampum in ceremonies. They gave it as gifts. Later, when Native Americans began trading with colonists from Europe, wampum even became a form of money.
Native Americans used wampum to decorate clothes and other items, such as this belt.
Settlers and traders. In the 1600s, people from Europe started coming to America. Life was hard for these immigrants. They had very little money. Unlike today, there were not many stores. Colonists relied on bartering to survive. They exchanged cloth from Europe for crops that the Native Americans grew. They also traded beaver furs, baskets of coal, and cows. Later, the colonies used corn and rice and other goods as money. Some especially valuable items were accepted as a form of payment throughout the colonies. Everyone needs a buck. A deer, or buck, was worth a lot to colonists. The meat gave them food, and the skin and fur gave warmth. Even today, we call a dollar a buck. Native Americans traded furs for the things they needed at places called trading posts. Make connections. How do people get what they need by bartering? Think about what you've read this week. What items are good for bartering?
Okay, that takes us to the end of our stories in our literature anthology. Let's go ahead and take a look at our reading and writing workshop. And our story here is Juanita and the Beanstalk. So this is a fairy tale.
Genre, fairy tale. Juanita and the Beanstalk. Juanita lived in a small, humble cottage with her mama and her pet goat, Pepe. One day, Mama said, "There has been no rain and our garden has dried up. Juanita, you must go to town and sell your goat. Use the money you get as payment to buy some food." "I don't want to sell Pepe," cried Juanita. She petted the goat lovingly, but she was an obedient girl and would not disobey her mother. Reluctantly, she took Pepe to town. On her way, she met an old man who patted Pepe kindly. "He is for sale," said Juanita with tears in her eyes. The man replied, "I have no money, but I have some special frijoles. If you plant these beans, you will never go hungry again. We can barter, and I will trade you these beans for your goat." Juanita thought carefully as she considered the man's offer. He seemed caring and considerate. Certainly he would be kind to Pepe, so Juanita finally decided to sell Pepe. She accepted the beans. When Juanita got home, Mama was upset with her decision. "You have returned home with no food and no money," she exclaimed. Juanita had to admit that Mama was right. All she had were 3 beans, and she still missed Pepe. Worst of all, Mama was unhappy. Juanita planted the beans in the backyard and went to bed. The next morning, she woke up and went outside. A gigantic beanstalk as tall as the clouds stood where Juanita had planted the beans. Juanita was curious. "I'm going to see what's up there," she said to herself, so Juanita climbed the beanstalk. At the top, she saw a grand and magnificent palace in the middle of a field. She knocked on the door, and a maid answered. "Hide!" cried the maid. "The giant is coming now, and he doesn't like strangers." So Juanita quickly crawled under the table. The giant stomped in, carrying an unhappy hen in a cage. He said, "Lay, hen, lay." Juanita's curiosity grew, and she peeked from under the table. Then she saw the hen's creation. Juanita gasped. It was a golden egg. The poor hen reminded Juanita of Pepe. She wanted to give it a better home. She ran between the giant's legs and grabbed the cage. She raced to the beanstalk. The giant roared in anger and chased after her. Juanita was able to slide down the beanstalk, but the giant was too heavy. He caused the stalk to break and crash to the ground. The beanstalk was gone forever, and Juanita and the hen were safe. The hen was happy to have a new home and laid many golden eggs. Mama was happy to use the eggs to buy everything they needed. And Juanita was happy because she was able to trade a golden egg with the old man to get Pepe back.
All right, that takes us to the end of our stories. Now we're going to be talking about summarizing and point of view. So remember, when we summarize, we're just going over the important parts of the story. So like when you're telling your friend about a great book that you read, or you're telling them about a movie that you saw, you're not telling them every single word. You're telling them the key details, the important stuff that happened. And then we're going to talk about point of view. And the point of view usually shows the speaker's feelings and ideas and thoughts about something. So when you're trying to figure out someone's point of view, you're figuring out how they feel about it or what their opinion is about it. So let's give this a listen.
Summarize. When you summarize, you retell the most important events in a story. Use details to help you summarize Juanita and the Beanstalk. Find text evidence. Why does Juanita have to sell her pet goat? Identify important story events. Summarize them in your own words. Juanita lived in a small, humble cottage with her mama and her pet goat, Pepe. One day, Mama said, "There has been no rain and our garden has dried up. Juanita, you must go to town and sell your goat. Use the money you get as payment to buy some food." "I don't want to sell Pepe," cried Juanita. She petted the goat lovingly, but she was an obedient girl and would not disobey her mother. Reluctantly, she took Pepe to town. On her way, she met an old man who patted Pepe kindly. "I read that it hadn't rained and Mama's garden dried up. They needed money for food. Mama told Juanita to sell Pepe, her pet goat. These details help me summarize. Juanita had to sell her goat to get money for food." Point of view. A character often has thoughts about other characters or events in a story. This is the point of view. Look for details to figure out the character's point of view. Find text evidence. What does Juanita think about Pepe? I can reread what she does and says. These details will help me figure out Juanita's point of view about the goat. Graphic organizer. Details. Juanita tells Mama that she does not want to sell Pepe. She pets the goat lovingly. Fairy tale. Juanita and the Beanstalk is a fairy tale. A fairy tale is a made-up story with events that could not really happen. Usually has magical characters or settings. Almost always has a happy ending with a message. Find text evidence. I can tell that Juanita and the Beanstalk is a fairy tale. A huge beanstalk could not grow overnight in real life. There are also magical characters such as a giant and a hen that lays golden eggs. The story has a happy ending too. Important events in a fairy tale could not really happen. Fairy tales usually have a happy ending with a message. Root words. A root word is the simplest form of a word. When you read an unfamiliar word, look for the root word. Then use the root word to figure out what the word means. Find text evidence. On page 336 of Juanita and the Beanstalk, I see the word considerate. I think the root word of considerate is consider. I know that to consider something means to think about it. Being considerate means thoughtful of others' feelings. Juanita thought carefully as she considered the man's offer. The man seemed caring and considerate.
All right, that takes us to the end of our notes and stories for this week. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have an amazing week. Take care. Bye-bye.